Hey gang, it's Bob Bannister here with you for another edition of Rock Talk with CGCM Rock Radio and the Red, White, and Maple Rock Project. Now, before we get going, why don't you do us a favor? Click that like, share, and subscribe button. Drop us a comment. Let us know if there's somebody you'd like us to talk to. And you know what? When you do all that stuff, it helps us out and keeps you informed as to what's going on with all things Rock Talk, CGCM Rock Radio, and the Red, White, and Maple Rock Project. Now, this time around, caught up with a guy from Montreal. I'm starting to really like this whole Canadian artists stuff because there's so many great artists that I'm discovering here at home within our shores of Canada. But you know what? That's just really, really, really cool because I get to share those artists with you worldwide. And that is very cool if you ask me. Now, this time around, I discovered this band just a little bit too late to get them on my top 10 of 2025. The band I'm talking about is Starlight Ritual. These guys are out of Montreal, like I said, and just absolutely amazing. They had a great album, Rogue Angels. Go check it out, please, please. It is an amazing album, and was able to catch up with the frontman, Damian Warner from this band, talk to him about the music, the band, his life, and all things rock. So let's step into the studio, sit down and have a chat with Damian Warner from Starlight Ritual on this edition of Rock Talk with the Red, White, and Maple Rock Project. All right, and as promised, let's welcome into Rock Talk from Montreal, Quebec, Damian Warner from the band Starlight Ritual. Their their album Rogue Angels dropped in 2025. Welcome into the show, Damian.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. And I got to say, I've been listening to this album quite a bit since I discovered it. Unfortunately, I discovered it a little bit too late to put it on my top 10 albums list of 2025. It is absolutely killer, my friend.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. We worked really hard on it.
So, what is this? Give us the story, the Coles Notes version of Starlight Ritual.
Well, it goes back to 2013 when the then guitar player J.F. Bertrand wanted to have like a side project because he plays in, or at the time he played in this black metal band, a more popular Quebec black metal band called Forteresse.
Okay.
And he contacted Dan Toupin, the other guitar player, and who became the main songwriter. And he wanted to do this like psychedelic kind of heavy metal project. And they wrote a whole album, but they couldn't find anybody to sing and had no lyrics, no vocals, no nothing. So they, through a friend of a friend, they ended up contacting me, who I wasn't a singer. I'd never sang before in my life. I was a fellow guitar player, but I was interested in singing. So they said, well, let's give this guy a chance. We got nobody else. So I went to go audition and they loved it. And so I had this whole album of music with no vocals, no lyrics, no nothing. So I had to basically just work with what they had. And that ended up being our first EP that we put out in 2014, like a self-titled 4-track EP that ended up being 45 minutes long. It's a full album length anyway, even though there's 4 songs. And yeah, so that was basically it, though. The original idea was to have more of this like kind of like progressive, psychedelic, kind of trippy, metal. And it was cool, but it's not really what I personally really wanted to do. So I kind of dragged them out of that a little bit and got them doing more rockin' traditional kind of stuff, which is what you hear now, which is what you heard on the album from 2021, Sealed in Starlight, that came before that as well.
Right, because I'm listening to Rogue Angels and it's full on arena rock. I gotta say, I heard Far Beyond the Storm and all I could see in my
Yeah,
head was like the fists in the air and
yeah,
the cell phone lights. Oh, that's
Yeah,
tough. So that's
yeah.
what you were going for with that.
Well, we were kind of going for, you know, basically like a really big influence for me is like a Judas Priest, British Steel kind of era,
Yeah.
you know. So like kind of like denim and leather, heavy rock, but you can tell that it's sincere and it's like it's just what we want to do, you know. It's we try not to be pretentious or anything like that. We just kind of play, you know, we have a lot of influences. So, you know, a lot of people listen, oh, we hear a lot of Wasp, we hear some Grim Reaper, we hear some Rainbow, some Black Sabbath, you know. So, but at the same time, you can hear a lot of like in songs like Of Words, you hear like a big, like Deep Purple kind of influence.
Hmm.
And, you know, vocally, there's a lot of Ian Gillan, a lot of Paul Di'Anno from Iron Maiden, really big influence, you know. So we kind of just take all the stuff that we like to listen to and put our own spin on it, I guess. You know, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're just here to make it roll well. Well,
Absolutely.
nice and well and oiled, you know.
Absolutely. And you just answered my next question. But what got you into music? Like what made you pick up a guitar and want
Oh,
to pursue music as
well,
a career?
I was always around music. My grandfather is actually an opera singer,
Oh wow.
and he's from Italy, and he lives here. But this guy, you want to talk about a career? I mean, this guy sang for the Pope. You know, when the Pope came in the early '80s to Montreal, he's the one that kind of sang for him his arrival, and even in the old Forum, you can find it on YouTube. He sang for when they retired Guy Lafleur's hockey
Mhm.
jersey. He sang the national anthem, the Canadian and American national anthem. So I've always been exposed to singers. My uncle actually sang for the band Witchkiller, like an Ottawa-based '80s metal band. Originally, they put out a like a 5-song album on Metal Blade Records back in the '80s, and then they relocated to Montreal and changed singers, and that's when my uncle kind of sang for them. So I was always kind of like around growing up singers and like opera music and heavy metal, and you know, my parents are big fans of Judas Priest and Maiden. So growing up, I was always looking at all these vinyls and album covers and thinking this was, you know, great, you know. And when you know, I got my first little cassette deck in the '90s, I had a copy of Dio, Dream Evil, and I was like,
Oh,
man,
yes.
this is what I want to do. Like I want to sing like this. I want to play music that sounds like this, you know, and it just kind of like captivated me greatly. So it's just always something I like to do, sing and play instruments. And here in Montreal, it's not a very popular kind of music, you know, like Montreal's more
No.
known for extreme metal, you know, death metal and black
Yeah.
metal and stuff like that. And I guess I have some small love for that, but it's just not what I want to do, you know? So yeah, I always gravitated towards that. And when I found these guys that are, as you can hear, they're great musicians, and on that album, so it just everything worked, and we've been rolling for over 10 years now, like
Well,
that.
that's awesome, but it's really interesting to hear as I interview different people and hear their influences and whatnot. The more I can relate because I'm in the radio and everything like that. And
Hmm.
growing up, my biggest hero was Bob Barker. You know,
Well, you want to talk about a famous, you know, somebody with a great voice who's very recognizable, you know.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. So, what's your songwriting process like in the band?
I have to give it to Dan. Dan the Man. We don't call him Dan the Man for no reason. This guy's like a phenom. He's like a dynamo. He writes all the music from A to Z, the drums, the bass, the guitar, everything. But he writes it from a song from a guitar player's perspective. So I get
Okay.
these like 12-minute long tracks that have 100 parts to them, and I'm like, he's like, okay, so here's a song. I'm like, no, Dan, this is like 6 songs actually. So I basically I've been gifted the task of getting these 12-minute epic odysseys, and I have to kind of like cut them up and be like, okay, this is the intro, these are the verses, these are the choruses. So I have like this giant painting to work with, and I just kind of take like one corner out, and that's like one song. And then like, oh, here's another song, and here's another song, you know. He gives me so much to work with, it's overwhelming sometimes. But I'm the one that arranges the song, and then once it's all done, I'm like, okay, I'll come up with a melody, and I'll just start singing anything, you know, that goes to this melody. And then once, you know, I listen to the song, I kind of get a feel like, oh, this kind of reminds me of, you know, like like racing a car down a highway or
Mhm.
something silly like that, and that'll end up being like Far Beyond the Storm, or he'll write me something else like Omen Killers, and I'm like, man, like I don't know, like I just will have watched The Omen, so it's like in my head, kind of thing, and so I'm like just hearing these melodies and start attaching words to certain parts in the melodies, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is what I'm singing about now. So it's a lot of I listen to the music, I chop it up, I just kind of go through it and get a feeling, and I'm like, oh, this sounds like something that could be like inspired with gladiators or crusaders or something cool like that. So we just kind of go like that,
But how do you
roll with it like
approach it?
that.
How do you approach it when in your process there where you're where Dan's giving you the piece of music, and if you've got something where you want to work with it, but just it's not coming to you.
Oh, that
How do
happens
you
all the
approach
time.
that?
That was happened today actually.
Oh yeah.
Like I have, Dan wrote this album that ended up being Rogue Angels, but there's another like 30 songs that we still have to work with, which is end up what's going to be the next album to come, which I have no idea what it's going to be called or anything like that. But no, that happened today that I have like these 12, like I picked 12 of my favorite tracks and I'm like, okay, I want to work with these. He's like, okay, no problem. So I'm listening to it and it's like sometimes I just don't feel anything, and it's like nothing's going on. So
Mm.
I'll just kind of put a pin in it and I'll either try to start something else or I'll just be like, you know what, for today, that's it. Like nothing's happening. And then some nights I'll sit in front of the computer and turn it on. I'm listening to and like boom, I'll do the whole song A to Z in one shot, and it just like flows like that. So one thing that's cool about High Roller Records, the label that put out Rogue Angels, they don't put any pressure on us at all to like we have no schedule. It's just like when you guys here's money, like use it when the album comes out, let us know and we'll put it out. So like we're pretty grateful for that.
So how do you
You
guys handle creative disagreements in the band?
That's a good question. I'm kind of a firm believer that a band is not a democracy. You have to have a leader and you have to have somebody that makes, the final say. And it seems to be Dan. Dan and I, we work really well together, and we never really have any like major dispute. You know, his only complaint is like his only complaint I'd say is like, well, you don't use enough of my guitar parts. I'm like, dude, there's so many. Like this guy can have like a solo career on his own, making so much music too. So we don't really have. We're pretty lucky for that. We get along really well, and at the end of the day, if I like it and Dan likes it, this is what it's going to be basically.
And what can folks expect if they go to see Starlight Ritual live?
Well, we can guarantee you what you hear on the album is what you're going to hear live. We don't cut corners, don't beat around the bush. We don't use any AI or auto tune or anything like that. So you know, when we record the music, it's all live recordings. It's all from our garage, basically. Like the whole
Okay.
album was done in our garage.
Oh wow.
So we have at JF's place, he has his home, and then he has this garage that he built just for us, basically. Like he parks his truck there too, but like the whole recording studio is there too. So when we record, like all the guitar parts, all the drum parts, if there's a problem, we redo it. And when I do the vocals, every verse is basically like A to Z in either one shot or it might be broken up in two shots. But I'm not a big fan of like punching in
Yeah.
vocal lines and stuff because I find it breaks the continuity of the flow of the music. So basically, like every verse is A to Z, every chorus is A to Z, and if I don't like the way it sounds, I just redo it. You know.
I'm
So
I'm the same way. I was recording something for my radio station earlier today, and I stumbled on one part, and I went back, started all the way from the beginning, and did it
mhm,
all the way through in one
mhm,
shot.
mhm.
I'm like you. It has to be. I feel the continuity is better if you get
Yeah,
one
yeah, it's got
clean
to be
shot.
organic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to have that organic feel. I find this is something that a lot of bands kind of get too lost in the technology and get too lost in the punching in and like quantization and fixing. Like, oh, we had this great solo, but there's like a couple notes that are flat or a couple notes that are sharp. Let's just kind of go back and tweak it. Like,
Yeah.
I hate that. Like I'd rather hear something that has mistakes but has passion and has feeling. And I find a lot of bands, small and big name bands, they kind of have this overly compressed sound that is just like it just sounds like a big like one big wave hitting you, and you can't distinguish anything. And everything is just cranked to the max, and like even if there was a mistake you probably wouldn't even hear it. There's just so much compression and distortion
Yeah.
that I don't know, it's not what we want to do. We want to make music that can be replicated live. Like what you hear when we play, when we rehearse and we like jam in our garage. We're three guitar players going. We actually right now on the album it was three of us that did it. Dan did all the guitar parts. JF did the drums. I did the bass and the vocals. But now we've gotten back to a five piece where we have two guitar players, bass, drums, and myself on vocals, and occasionally guitar as well. Just so like when we do play live, like I'm not playing guitar on every song, but if there's a part where there's two rhythm guitars and a lead guitar going, or dual leads with a rhythm, and you hear it on the album, you're going to hear it live too. So like nothing is like, you
Right.
know,
Right.
there's nothing I hate worse than listening to a band and it's like, oh, these guys are great. And then I go see them live and I'm like, ugh. I understand that we're all humans. We can have a bad night.
Yeah.
But if we're talking like complete parts are missing just because, well, we don't have like three guitar players, like, well, maybe you should, maybe you
Exactly.
should,
I mean, it worked for Iron Maiden, right? I mean,
It
bringing in
worked for
Yannick.
April Wine. April Wine had three guitar players,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and it works for Iron Maiden. Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of whom, with Yannick, he's the guy that falls on his face, drops his guitar, falls off the stage.
Yeah,
What's
that's
all
me.
those?
That would be me, actually. Yeah.
Tell us about any Yannick moments you've had on stage.
Well, I think we've had some. We played a lot of shows. We've had a lot of great experience. We've opened up for a lot of big bands. We've opened up for Grim Reaper, Anvil, Diamond Head. We played a couple of festivals where like you had bands like Trouble, Angel Witch were playing, like some pretty cool bands. And I can't say we've had any like catastrophic moments, but we've played a couple local places here that sometimes the stages are really small, or like there's like some ventilation that is like really low hanging, and I'll
Oh,
just
right.
whack my. I'm 6'3", so I'll whack my head in a lot of places, and um,
I can relate.
yeah, luckily we've never had any like major like problems. But sometimes stages are really small, and like I like to drink a lot of water when I sing, so I'll have like pitchers of water, and guys, come up to the stage, knock them over, and like it's like just becomes like a swimming pool with like an inch of water in it everywhere. So your pedal boards are like we have all our pedal boards like on bricks and stuff just for that to happen. So so like but that's it. Like when you hear the music, like if you hear like any effects going, like you're gonna hear like this is all stuff that we do like live on the spot, like with pedals, and like
Mm.
we have nothing pre-recorded, nothing. So yeah, so luckily we practice enough, and none of us are really like tech savvy or like really into social media, so like we don't have a big like online presence. But I find that's kind of like, I don't know, when a lot of guys are like playing on the computer, we're playing music and we're jamming. Like this is what I find made a lot of great bands. Like in the '80s when I was a little kid, like we didn't have cell phones, and like
No.
like we played outside and we played our instruments, we had fun. Like we kind of still have that mentality where we don't really put a lot of effort. I know it's like probably shooting ourselves in the foot at the end of the day because this is how the world works today, but I don't know. We play music, and if you like it, great. You can email us, you can call us, contact us, and we're always, we'll chat with you, and we'll hang out with you guys, and we'll play a show if you want us to play. But we're like, we're still a small time operation, I guess. And even though we're signed to like an overseas label that has some pretty big bands on it, we still feel like like to us, it's still like a side project. It's like just a little passion, something we do on the side.
Well, that's fun though. That is
Yeah.
fun. But do you have one of those places in Montreal where you play and it's just like home every time you play there?
We had. Unfortunately, it closed down
Oh.
a few years ago. There was a place called the Catacombs, and this was like the venue. We have in Montreal. There's a venue called the Fufun Electric that's pretty big. A lot of bands
Mhm.
play there. There's the Piranha. There used to be the Spectrum back in the day.
Right.
Um, you know, Cafe Campus, Cafe Chaos, but the Catacombs. There was a festival that went on for a few years called Wings of Metal, and it was put on by like a local promoter. But this is where we got to play with all these bands like Angel Witch and Diamond Head and Pagan Altar and uh, man, some pretty big name bands. And I played when we played with Grim Reaper. We played at the Catacombs. I even played this weird festival. Our very first show actually was this festival that had Gorguts, like the death metal band, was playing like
Okay.
headlining, and yeah, and then it was like us and then Gorguts, which I thought was a pretty weird combination. But yeah, everything was there, and it was like the coolest place. But I don't know what happened. I think there was a fire. It closed down. It never reopened. So as far as now, I'm a little out of the loop where it comes to people are playing shows now. But I think it's a shame because that was like the cool place to play. You know.
Mm-hmm. And do you have one of those songs that comes on the radio or maybe on your iTunes or whatever that you hear it and it just automatically you're just like, damn, I wish I wrote that song.
Oh yeah, there's a lot actually. Um, I mean, the thing is I I listen to a lot of metal and hard rock, but it's not all I listen to, and I find that's like I'm the kind of person that when I like a band, I want to know what they listen to.
Right.
It's like okay, like you guys make music and it's cool, but what inspires you? And I find this is what made a lot of bands in like the '70s great is that they were hard rock bands, but they didn't listen to hard rock because it was like new, right? So they
Yeah.
had all these influences of like gospel music and like 50s rock and church music and I find that that's what's cool. So as a singer I don't really limit myself just to listening to like rock and metal. Like I'm a big fan of Tom Jones and Elton John and like these
Mhm.
phenomenal singers, Neil Diamond, like all these guys have these great voices. And like I was listening to some Tom Jones before, and I'm like, man, if this guy sang metal, like he would blow everybody away. Like he has this deep, thick
Absolutely.
baritone. Even as crazy it is to say, a lot of people don't know that even Michael Bolton, his first band was a band called Blackjack in the late
Yes.
70s, and it was rock and roll and it was great. He has this big, thick, deep voice,
Yep.
and I was like, man, I know you would have made no money going that way, but it would have been cool. So, as far as, when I hear songs, um, I mean, unfortunately, rock, like, rock is not as what it used to be, at least in North America. So when I hear songs like, oh man, songs that I wish I had written, I'm actually a really big fan of the Wasp album, The Crimson Idol, because it's kind
Okay.
of like
Yep.
Wasp. Oh man, it's like Wasp's statement, like, "Oh, you think we're just like an LA hair band? Like, listen to this," and it's like super deep and complicated, and like big storyline, and so there's a lot of tracks on there that I really like, and obviously, I think more. I kind of put myself in the shoes of like if I was born in the mid '80s, but a lot of the albums I like came out before I was born, so I could just picture being like an Iron Maiden fan and loving Paul Di'Anno, and then finding out like they kicked him out and they got this new guy, and you're like, oh, it's probably gonna suck, like this new guy, and you put on the first song with Dickinson, and that first track comes with the drums.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, and you're like, and the voice comes in, and you're like, oh man, this is amazing. Or like when Heaven and Hell came out with Ronnie James
Oh
Dio,
God, yeah.
you'd be like, oh man, no Sabbath, no Ozzy, like, bah, who cares about that? And then you hear, oh man, like I can just picture myself being, in the shoes of somebody at that time, and
Yep.
I think those like songs like that, Heaven and Hell, and uh, keep that Maiden song is slipping my mind on that first one.
Yeah.
It's not Flight of Icarus. Anyway, but yeah, that one. Anyway, so songs like that. A lot of Judas Priest songs, and it's crazy. As a band like Judas Priest is, they're still putting out albums and they're still putting out quality stuff too.
Absolutely.
So there's that freaks me out too. Bands that have a 30, 40-year career and they're still making music that's good.
And Rob Halford sounds better than ever.
It's unreal, man.
The
I don't
guy's in his
even know if it
70s.
It's unbelievable because he had a really rough patch in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
When I saw him on the Angel of Retribution tour in the year 2000, it was like really like I don't know, like he was, I don't know if he had some surgery or he was sick or something, but I saw him a few years ago with Judas Priest and Queensryche here in Montreal, and like it was like a siren. It was so loud and clear and so like ear piercing. I was like, man, like I don't even think I can ever sing that good, and I'm half his age, Yeah.
That's cool. So before we wrap this up, Damien, I like to do this little thing called this or that. Has nothing to do with music, just
Okay,
silly questions, top of the head. I think we're going to throw
nice.
the Canadian edition at you this time around.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, so let's start things off. Poutine or butter tarts?
Oh, poutine.
Timmy's or Starbucks?
Timmy's for the price, Starbucks for the taste.
All right. Baseball or hockey?
Ooh, hockey.
Toque or ball cap?
Ball cap. I'm a ball cap guy, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Beer or wine?
Oof. I'm not a big beer fan, but I think it's from a singing point of view because if I drink too much beer, I got to burp a lot on stage. So I'm going to have to go with wine just for the non-carbonated aspect.
There you go. There you go. And
Mhm.
finally, actually, two more here for you.
Sure.
Pizza or burger?
Ooh. Oh, wow. It's like trying to pick amongst my favorite, like two favorite kids. Um, I love burgers, but I gotta go pizza. Pizza is just a universal, like delicious food. Yeah.
All right. And then finally, pineapple on that pizza, yes or no?
I'm half Italian, so that's a sin. Yeah.
Even though it was created by us Canadians.
You know what? To be honest, pineapple and ham on pizza, I've had it and like it's okay, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm eating a pizza. I feel like I'm eating like
Dessert.
something a different kind of food, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Damian Warner from the band Starlight Ritual. Take a few moments and do a little bit of self promotion, my friend.
Well, if you like what you hear, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. You can just email us directly, starlightritual@gmail.com. We're active on YouTube. We read all the comments that people post on our songs and other, videos that are related to us. So we're pretty easy to find. And don't be strangers. If you like what you hear and you want to contact the band, please do. If you want to support the band, you can go to our Bandcamp. If you prefer the digital route, you can download our MP3s, Bandcamp, or you can go on the High Roller Records website and find our album.
Very, very cool. Damian Warner, thank you for joining us on this edition of Rock Talk with CGCM Rock Radio, my friend.
Thank you, Bob. You have yourself a good night. Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome, and we'll thank you and catch us next time for another edition of Rock Talk right here
Yes,
with
sir.
CGCM Rock Radio and the Red, White, and Maple Rock Project.